Hello, everyone. Welcome to our webinar. Thank you for having joined it. The topic today is budgeting for operation and maintenance. So we'll be talking about money and responsibilities, taking a global perspective. We have three speakers today joining from Jordan, Pakistan, and Uganda. This is the agenda. So obviously I'm doing the introduction now. My name is Alicia Brandt. And then Björn Simplech from Jordan will deliver the Jordan perspective. Christian Rieck will provide his input from Uganda, and then we'll have Hashim Khan from Pakistan. And in the end, we'll have some time to discuss. If you have questions, I hope we can enjoy a critical discussion about the topic. So just to provide you some faces to the names. This is me, Alicia Brandt. I'm the junior advisor. Shobana, she's the project advisor for the Sustainable Sanitation Alliance platform. She's the one who just helped me joining in, so she's the technical person. Then we have Björn. He is the project coordinator in Jordan, and his work aims at improving responsible water resource use among religious agents of change. Whereas Christian, as a country coordinator in Uganda, focuses his work on strengthening capacities of the Ugandan water sector with regards to scalable and proper sanitation. And our colleague Hashim Khan, he's a senior professional. He's in Balochistan, and his work focuses on host communities. His field of experiences include menstrual hygiene management. Just to give you some webinar guidance, while you listen, while the speakers are speaking, please mute yourself, just so we don't have too much background noise. If you wish to speak, you can raise your hand by clicking on the little hand raising icon. And yeah, if you have questions, please type them into the chat box so everyone can see them, and we can discuss. So I think we can start now. Björn, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Alice. Yeah, I welcome you to the presentation and the part from Jordan. My name is Björn Simplech. I'm geographer from profession, and I'm working for the GIZ in Jordan since more than 4 years in the water sector. I'm responsible for another project in the water sector, and also for the country component of Sanitation for since 1.5 years. And yeah, welcome you to Jordan, to the case in Jordan. As you might know, Jordan is a very water scarce country. We have more than 80% of the country with a precipitation of less than 200 millimeter, and only a few areas with a lot. So water scarcity is a big issue, but also general provision of services, especially since the Syrian crisis. Jordan has affected by an influx of refugees from Syria of approximately 650,000, registered with UNHCR. And this gives an additional burden to energy, but also to the water infrastructure, including sanitary public facilities. Jordan received significant support from the international community to deal with this situation, but still needs further support to decrease the burden. And as you know, today we want to talk about operational maintenance. And I think, as we all have experience in our professional life, investing in facilities can be easy. It's still a challenge, but it's much easier than keeping them running. So today we want to discuss the effect of budgeting and financing the necessary resources for keeping the sanitary facilities running. So coming to the case itself, in Sanitation per Million in Jordan, we are working both in schools and in mosques. And today I would like to focus on the work we are doing in mosques. And the first question is, why are we working in mosques? First of all, Jordan is a majority Muslim country with approximately 95 to population embracing Islam, and also the Syrian refugees are the vast majority are Muslims. And we have 5,000 up to 7,000 mosques distributed throughout the country. And all these mosques also have wash facilities. And we have observed in recent years that ordinary people, if they search for a toilet in a public place, they tend to go to nearby mosque. In some cases, it's almost a little bit institutionalized. For instance, in the bus station in Mafraq, a city in the north, there is a system that you pay 10 cents for attending the toilet, which is close to the bus station. So mosques have become a public institution and give access to ordinary citizens in public places to access toilets during the daytime. And in general, there are great investments done into mosques and also in sanitary facilities, but in general, the investment in the field of operation and maintenance is lacking. So we saw a field where we can jump in as GIZ to support our partner organization, the Ministry of Religious Affairs, to ensure sustainable operation and maintenance and also the cleanliness of the sanitary facilities. The ultimate goal is to keep them open for the public and to have access in public places. And in our context, we are focusing on two kinds of facilities, on greywater treatment and reuse system. There we have a couple of pilot plants in the Mafraq governorate, northern Jordan, close to the Syrian border. But in general, on toilet and ablution facilities, so ablution facilities are special facilities to do the ritual washing called ablution, which you find in almost every mosque. And during the planning phase, we have considered the budgeting for the operation and maintenance. At first, we thought who could do the job. So who could take better care of the operation and maintenance of the sanitary unit. And if we have identified that person, how can we enable this caretaker to maintain on a day-to-day basis the operation and maintenance better? What skills does he need, but also what physical tools does he need? And in coordination with our partner, the Ministry of Religious Affairs, we have identified muazzins as the person responsible for this. Usually a muazzin is calling for prayer, but in Jordan and I think also in other countries, he is responsible also for opening the mosque, for closing the mosque, and to do smaller repairs. But we have realized that they're usually not following up all the repairs, mainly that they don't have the skills to do it or they don't have the tools. Yeah, the project jumped in and developed a 5-day training in plumbing and delivered training to 300 muazzins in the first phase, and as well equipped them with a toolbox, including major tools to do smaller plumbing maintenance and repair work. We have focused on having quite strict specification for this in order to receive high quality tools, and which we now considered as non-consumables, and that these tools will hopefully last for a longer period and don't have to be renewed on a short or middle term. And the muazzins should be able, with this training and with these tools, to do smaller repairs, including changing leaking faucets or fixing clogged wash basins. We have also identified consumables, materials which are on a regular basis used in the mosque toilets. This can be soap, cleaning material, and small spare parts like new faucets. And there we have seen that the mosque committees or local private donation can cover this consumable. So they will not be covered by the project or by GIZ, but they should from the beginning covered by local donations. On the other side, we don't only find small repairs in mosque, but it can also happen that the toilet is clogged and you cannot fix it with a rubber plunger. So sometimes heavy repairs is needed. This is less frequent, but it needs more technical know-how. So we identified a system for medium and large scale operation and maintenance, for more centralized systems which is run by the Ministry of Religious Affairs. We provided them with mobile maintenance units. And these are small pickups equipped with more elaborated tools. And the Ministry of Religious Affairs will cover the running cost for this cars, for fuel and also the salary of the technicians. And the third part was that we also want to work more on the awareness of the user of the facilities, do public events, stickers and posters to avoid mistreat of sanitary units, which leads to clogging and other challenges. So last slide to sum up. As a project, we have focused on investment on some pilot facilities, but mainly on capacity development and hardware tools, toolboxes for Muazzin, as I said, and on the micro level and on the meso and macro level on mobile maintenance units. And the idea or the strategy to achieve sustainability was to select staff which are already employed at the public sector, like the Muazzins are already paid by the Ministry of Religious Affairs in order to avoid additional costs occurring for the public institution for additional service they're providing. And at second point, it was community-based supervision. So the mosque committees, which will coordinate the donation to smaller repairs. We hope that they have a strong ownership and follow up also the work of the Muazzin. And to sum up, we had a couple of questions to the audience of the webinar. First of all, I briefly have mentioned the grey water system, so maybe to ask other about their experience with grey water system and the operational maintenance in public places. And but maybe more interesting for us is how are your experience with budgeting consumables through private donations, so that we have a public institution but private people donating for this public institution in order to have the service running and consumable available. So that would be very interesting from our side. Thank you very much.
I think we can pass on to Uganda now, to Christian. The floor is yours. And we will take the questions. We will discuss them later on.
Okay, Alice, thank you very much for the opportunity to share some working experience that we have in Uganda with a focus on Kampala, where we do most of our work at the moment on Sanitation for Millions. I'm working, or my name is Christian Ried, I'm working here as a country coordinator for the Sanitation for Millions program, and I'm also heading all sanitation activities under our bilateral GIZ NMOS program. Okay, let me get straight to the issues. We basically started very traditionally with assessing the situation in the schools. So I will talk about primary schools, public schools in Kampala, with whom we try to improve the infrastructure, but of course at the same time operation maintenance. As we all know, the facilities themselves, they don't really make a big difference if the operation maintenance is not working. So part of our, or the findings from the assessments in the schools, we are working currently in 16 schools, is not very positive as expected. That we have actually a very big problem in terms of hand washing facilities, cleanliness and maintenance of the toilets, urinals. Also, one of the main issues that came also up is the payment of the water bills, the utility bills is a major concern for the schools, which impacts them in a way that they say, okay, we rather close down the toilets, make sure they're disconnected to the water at the end of the month. So this was a big reason why we even found very new facilities. Okay, so let me take you through the development process that we had in general. So on the second step that you can see here, we met with the head teachers and the sanitation teachers, and we just tried to make sure they acknowledge the common challenge of lack of wash facilities, lack of good operation maintenance, as well as hygiene practice. Step, we try to generate interest on operation maintenance and put some pressure on the school management. So we make sure the expectations towards the schools on basic cleaning, basic hygiene were well understood by the head teachers, and there were commitments made by all the schools, verbally, but basically together with the education directorate, that really put a lot of pressure on the schools to actually start acting and not just talking. So on the fourth step, we started developing several range of tools and solutions to address the problem. This is basically planning for O&M, budgeting for O&M, and KCCA is the authority on the monitoring of all these things. Because of course this is also one of the findings that we had, that KCCA is actually not very active in monitoring washing schools. So one of our findings, positive initial findings, was that just this kind of exchange, the assessment, the acknowledgement of the challenges brought some change in the schools, and very bad facilities turned up to be renovated. There's another one here on the left side, where the school has really managed to put up quite a good facility, and without any external funding, just by pure peer pressure from within and from the education directorate. So, but of course this is really not enough, but it showcases that really through better communication and knowledge of what the problem is, you can actually start addressing the problems. To help now the schools and to strengthen the school management, we started to look into detailing the cost of operation maintenance. I'll show you later a short snapshot on our budgeting tool, where we really look at how much the toilet paper costs basically per term, the water bills, the soap, the tools, the cleaning tools, and everything else, to really make sure everything is costed in detail and everyone understands that if you get also moved for our Sanitation for Millions program, you need to really have practices well. We will to make typically termly structure that in 3 categories, that use it, clean it, and maintain it. It's very easy to understand for everyone, and it's something that we borrowed, or that we use from the Fit for School program. We also look at self-monitoring tools, something like a checklist for the school to track their own wash status, so every day, at least that's the plan. Currently we're still in the discussion, planning, and phase with the schools and KCCA, that eventually the schools are obliged to monitor every day their status through the sanitation teacher, partly also through the students, where they will really look at the cleanliness of the toilets, is there water, soap available, and all the other things that are of interest. To make all of this more formalized in a way that it's not just a goodwill agreement, we are working on commitment letters for the schools with their authority KCCA, which they will sign, and they will commit and pledge on implementing their O&M plan and several other hygiene-related, wash-related issues. And then, of course, the authority.
All right. So, as Krista mentioned, we had the commitment letters, which give a basis for the commitment of the schools, and then we are working on monitoring tools for the authorities to track the progress in the schools and in the field of water, sanitation, and hygiene, and also on their commitment. And this is something which is developed also together with KCCA as the authority. And here you can see one of those O&M, let's say, plans.
I need to look at the brushes, what it costs. So this then goes into the more detailed budgeting, where we also use that same concept of use it, clean it, and maintain it, and really try to line out the various costs, which then go into a category of cost per term, per school term, and then the school basically knows, okay, for wash-related activities, we have to cater for this kind of costs. This is still under, basically still under development, but we are in the next 1 or 2 weeks, we want to sign the commitment letters and really monitor how this can work at the school level. So one of the few take-home messages, I think it's not very brand new, but it's always good to mention it again. O&M here, especially, I mean, here in Uganda, I guess also in many other countries, we have that issue that O&M is essential, but very much underrated. Nobody really understands why you should do it, or maybe no one really understands why you should monitor it. So that's a bit of capacity awareness building that we are doing, going through this process of developing all these tools. Consumables like detergent, soap, and water are really one of the main cost drivers. Knowing the costs and being able to budget accordingly, of course, is very important. As I said before, transparent assignment of areas for supervision and responsibility is very important. Who is doing what on that level of the schools, but also on the level of the authority. Who will actually do the monitoring, who will do the analysis of the data, who will follow up and enforce certain measures. That's something we are working along this chain of responsibilities. And of course, one of the main issues we are facing is that allocation of sufficient budget for O&M from the government is not yet available. So at the moment, it's about parents' contributions to chip in, but we need strong advocacy in the long run to make sure it's not just on the burden of the parents. So this is my last slide, outlining what we're doing in the schools, and I'm very happy to answer any questions at the end of the session. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much, Christian. This was really interesting. Sorry to everyone for the confusion, and thank you also to Patrick for jumping in so spontaneously. I think the Ugandan case is extremely interesting because we have already developed some tools, and we are looking at how we can implement those tools in the other countries as well. So thank you so much. And now let's hand over to Hashim in Pakistan. Hashim, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much, everyone, and hello from Pakistan. My name is Hashim Khan. I work for Refugee Management Support Program and the Sanitation for Millions, which is being implemented as one of the 3 countries where this program is being implemented. So I'm working as a country team leader for the Sanitation for Millions in Pakistan. So as far as the operation and maintenance concept for Pakistan is concerned, so we have, so I'll just go through 2 or 3 specific approaches which we have designed and started to implement. But before I go to the technical details, just a brief overview of Pakistan, because as you all know, Pakistan has one of the most protracted refugee situations in the world. Currently, around 2.5 million refugees live in Pakistan, which are in different categories, registered, and the one with ACC cards, and also some undocumented ones. So the overall caseload is approximately 2.5 million. Just some numbers on Pakistan for those who don't know. For example, It's a country with 207 million people, which is 6th largest in the world. And in terms of sanitation numbers, 44% of children are stunted, which is 3rd highest globally. So the child stunting is a major issue, which has a major link with the sanitation. And 25 million people defecate in the open, according to some of the UNICEF and other partners which are here. Literacy rate in Pakistan is merely 54%. So you can imagine the challenges when it comes to the overall hygiene and sanitation issue. If you see the national numbers, 21% rural and 1% urban areas openly defecate. So that's the overall percentage when we talk about sanitation and numbers. And Pakistan is bordering with Afghanistan, so we also have the circular migration, which this is an old number which says that there are approximately, if you see the current numbers, so approximately 20 to 30,000 people every day cross the Torkham and Spinboldak border at the, so this circular migration with Afghanistan is also a major factor when we talk about refugees and overall water and sanitation issue. So coming back to some of the technical concepts, so we have developed a 3-pronged operation and maintenance concept for Pakistan. And we are working with schools and health facilities. So when we talk about schools, public schools and health facilities, so first of all, there are registered parents, teacher, school management committees, which are registered with the education department, and they are also in the overall WASH strategy of the country, and they are acknowledged as a body, which also has parents as members there. Our second approach is towards operation and maintenance is through plumbers, where we have also piloted this livelihood model of engaging private sector, where we train the plumbers for WASH facilities. I'll go into the details in the next slide. And the third approach which we have is the mobile maintenance unit, which we have inherited from our colleagues in Jordan. In the GIZ Jordan have piloted this, and we are also started implementing this in Pakistan. But at the same time, for all these 3 approaches, the continued lobbying with the government for financing is a major cross-cutting, which we continue doing. So the first approach that we have is the parents, teacher, school management committees. They are representative bodies of the school, registered with the government, as I said, and these PTCMCs will use allocated fund for O&M. They also receive limited amount of money from the education department. So what we are doing is that we are lobbying to increase the fund so that sanitation also comes as an important agenda for the education department and also the community. Unfortunately, sanitation is not one of the top agendas when it comes to the budget and other aspects. So that's one of the important tasks which the parents, which are the members of PTCMC, are doing, as they are engaging local philanthropists, especially for schools, to have the operation and maintenance into practice. So our second approach, as I said, was the plumbers approach, engaging the private sector. That what we are doing is that we are in each village where the school and health facility is located. So we have identified local plumbers, young people. We will train them and equip them with a toolbox, and then each one of them will be connected with their neighboring school and BHU. And then there will be a terms of partnership signed with the neighboring school and health facility with the plumber. So at the same time, for example, lobby for the operation and maintenance financing with education and health department. So this is a makeshift arrangement where we have engaged the private sector, especially plumbers. So we will incentivize them with training and tools, and then they have to provide services in their neighboring schools. So in this approach, each plumber will have more ownership also, because the school is located right next to their houses. So it's in their neighboring community. So just to have increased ownership, they will be engaged in a formal way so that they can provide their services for the operation and maintenance. As my colleague Bjorn from Jordan also mentioned, mobile maintenance unit is also one of the important concepts which we are doing, especially for schools, and we are also trying to do it for the health centers, where all these mobile maintenance units operate through a schedule which is agreed and approved by the education department. And so the approach is that these mobile maintenance units will be utilized. So at the same time, lobbying and advocacy is going on with the education department so that they can multiply this approach in the other schools throughout the province, especially the state where we are working with. So this way they can, this is just to demonstrate that this is how operation and maintenance can work. So so this approach was very well appreciated by the government also, and we are trying to identify a solution so that this is multiplied as an approach from the budget of the government. So this is all the three approaches. I have tried to explain in a graph that, for example, the PTCMCs, which you can see on the left, the parents and the community approach, and in the middle you can see the plumbers, the local plumbers, so this, which is a local solution for the operation and maintenance, and plus the mobile maintenance units. So they are all contributing to the operation and maintenance, and of course the ultimate financing will come from the education department, and also if we are working with the health centers, from the health department. So one of the main objectives for us in a country like Pakistan, which is not a very ideal country in terms of governance, and especially in areas which are not the big urban cities. So the approach is to have sanitation on the agenda of the government. So that is the main purpose of our interventions. So that is it from my side, and if there are any questions, I'll be happy to respond to you if there are. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Hashim, for your wonderful presentation. We have now 20 more minutes to engage in a discussion. I think we can begin the discussion with going back to the question that Björn, the first speaker, had to all of you out there, if anyone has experience with the operation and maintenance and budgeting for greywater treatment systems. Yeah, so if anyone has some experience to share with operation and maintenance of greywater treatment systems, or maybe Björn, you would like to repeat your second question that you had?
No, actually I was planning to answer Jonah Teskis. The first question was if the caretakers are hired new. I think I have already afterwards answered the question in the presentation, but just to repeat that the caretakers are, the muezzins are already hired by the ministry, and they are in the places already. So it's not a new person hired. This first of all, and the second question was if they received an incentive for having an additional task. So I think that's a very important question, that we always have to think that people are not necessarily waiting to do additional tasks. This is the same for us, and they're expecting maybe or an incentive or an additional incentive will be great in order to perform tasks. And there, no, they don't have a financial incentive, so they will not have a salary raise or something, because the small repairs is already considered as a task. But until now, they are the muazzins are not regularly following up, and the incentives were mainly in form of the training, in form of appreciation. We did a big ceremony with the Secretary General of the Ministry and people from the embassy and from GIZ certifying these muazzins, so somehow acknowledging their important work, also by the highest person in the ministry, having a certificate, and as well that they received the toolbox. So I think this was the most motivation from them, that they now receive brand new toolboxes where they can really start working. So I think that was a strong incentive. I hope I answered the question.
Okay, excellent. I think the question has been answered. The person is happy. We have here a question from Edrich. For rural school areas, how do we link to local government agencies? Christian or Hashim, if he's here, do you have any response to this question? Any suggestions?
About the local government agencies, here in the context of Pakistan, unfortunately the local government agencies in the areas where we are working are not very strong, but at the moment what we are doing is that there are elected councillors at each union council we are working with. So that elected councillor, we call it the elected person who is in charge of the sanitation, drainage and things. He's the guy elected for a union council which has a population of 30,000 to 50,000 people. So he's one of the key players for us when we are talking to the people, the influentials in the community. And normally in our experience, these people are very supportive, and to both the health facilities and the government schools we are working with. Unfortunately, the local government department, which is in charge of the sanitation in the communities, it's not up to the level in the context where we are working with. Initially, we tried to engage them in some of the activities, but it wasn't very productive. I should not use the word productive, but we are still trying to engage them, especially in our community part, which we are doing it. But especially for schools and hospitals, it's mainly the health and education department, and this elected representative, which works under the local government agency, is an important person for us.
Okay, thank you very much, Hashim. There is this one question to all presentators. How do we handle effluents? Are there sewage systems or just septic tanks? So Hashim and Björn, would you like to provide some input on that one?
Yeah, maybe I can start. Like in Jordan, we have a sewage network of and connection of 63% of the population. Also, most of the mosques are connected to the sewage system. Also, the pilot mosque we are working on in Mafraq city, we have 3 communities without connection to the sewage system, and there we are having the grey water treatment, and then the grey water from evolution is treated by the grey water by a sand filter, and the black water is still discharged to a septic tank and then have to be collected and brought to the dumping site. And for the grey water from the evolution, we are expecting very low maintenance need. Ideally, it will last several years. We have an estimation up to 10 years that we don't have to maintain and to reflush the sand, because the effluent from the evolution is very clean. We don't have oil and greases and organic matters, and we just have a few pathogens.
All right, thank you. Hashim, would you like to add something to this?
Yeah, very briefly. As far as the sewage system is concerned, and especially effluents, in the areas where we work, we are implementing Sanitation for Millions, unfortunately are very dry areas. It's an arid zone which is with the annual precipitation of almost 50 to 100 millimeter. So that's the, in the schools we are working, we are mainly relying on the septic tanks, and unfortunately the households and all the other very few are connected with the sewage system. But what we are doing is that we are also implementing decentralized wastewater treatment system, the DAWATS, especially at the level of the school, to have a treatment of the school wastewater into a school garden. So this is one of our main activity, which we will also be implementing along with the sanitation activities we are doing.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. In terms of the next question that Arno is asking, really interesting. Mention what is done for menstrual hygiene management in schools in order to keep girls in schools. So I would suggest absolutely Hashim to say something on this maybe, and then Patrick Maas here in the background would also provide some information on this topic from the Uganda perspective. So please, Hashim.
Yeah, in the schools where we are working, almost half of them are girls' schools, and menstrual hygiene management is a very important part, is a very important component of the activities which we are doing it. And we have been able to also convince the government of Balochistan in the province we are working with to consider it as a priority. And so at the moment, for example, we are doing two-pronged activities, both at the sensitization level. We are distributing MHM kits in the schools, and at the level of services, we have constructed menstrual hygiene management friendly toilets. So we call them MHM friendly toilets in the schools, which are specialized to keep the requirement of the menstrual hygiene management in schools. They are especially for the bigger girls in the middle section and the high schools. So that activity along with all the soft activities. And plus, one of our key strategies for the key messages on menstrual hygiene management is training of teachers. So our important approach is that we are approaching the girls through teachers. We train teachers. We are organizing training of trainers for them, and then these teachers pass on the message to the girls along with some of the material which they study in these trainings.
Yes, thank you very much. It's me again, Patrick, and I'm speaking on behalf of Uganda now again. Generally, more or less the approach what we follow in Uganda is the same as in Pakistan. We focus once, of course, on the provision of girl-friendly toilets, so to speak, which means rooms where there is possibilities to have the personal hygiene for menstruating girls. And then, of course, software activities. And we are partnering up with one local NGO. And the interesting thing what we are trying there is not just to train the teachers on the one hand and the girls on the other hand, but also get in communication with the boys. Yeah, because we see that it's quite important that even the boys understand what is really going on when women have their menstruation, so to speak. And generally, I would like to say that when you look at Uganda, that the taboo of menstruation is not as high as it might be in other countries, because since many years, I think this topic is quite permanent in there. So there we don't have really to fight with those hard-rooted taboos. But in general, I think our approach is more or less the same as in Pakistan, laid out by Hashim. Thank you very much.
Excellent. So I think we have some time to take up one more question. I don't know, maybe Björn or Hashim, would you like to discuss a point or pose a question to the audience?
Yeah, I mean, we still have the questions for if anybody else in the webinar experience or has experience with private donation to public institutions. So were there any system or best practice where you had the feeling, okay, this is working, that people donating smaller amounts to public institution and then are also involved on the follow-up? So that would be interesting, but I mean, just if anybody has a good idea or a good example to share with us.
Okay, so I don't see any raised hands yet, but in case someone has can provide some input on this or maybe has some ideas to share, it would be great if you can contact us. I think everyone has the email addresses now. The webinar is being recorded and it will be available on the SuSanA platform, Sustainable Sanitation Alliance, in I think a couple of weeks. And if you wish, I can also send you the speakers' presentations. And yes, I think we have covered most of the questions that have arisen in the chat. I don't know, maybe, yeah, the discussion, as Arno is writing in the chat, can just continue on the SuSanA forum. And yeah, if everyone is fine with it, we can wrap up this webinar. I think Christian, we won't see him, or he's trying. If the connection allows, we can see his face one more time. Yeah, there he is. Excellent. Good. Well, thanks to all of you for presenting. This has been the first webinar, I think, for all of us. Thank you very much, Arno Rosemary from the Stockholm Environment Institute, for providing all the technical support and for being so patient with us. And finally, thank you to all the attendees for having joined the webinar. And yeah, we will produce a second one coming in September. So we'll keep you posted and see you soon.
Thank you very much.